Good morning, everyone. So everyone get your seats, and we're about to start off our first session of the morning in the Coolangatta room, and we've got Amanda Spencer from Cloudflare from Brisbane, and today she's talking about cybersecurity strategies that will connect, protect, and build your business. Please welcome Amanda.
Thank you. So that music that just played, I swear that was not planned, but that is actually in fact referenced. And I was looking for my mojo, and I've just found it. Thank you. So my name's Amanda. I lead a team of exceptional solutions engineers for ANZ for Cloudflare. I've been with Cloudflare a little over a year, and it's been an interesting journey, I'll have to be honest. And where the Knight Rider reference is when I was talking to my new team and explaining a little bit about myself. And I said, hey, my favorite car is a 1982 Pontiac Trans Am Knight Rider style. And I was faced with blank stares. And I realized there's a bit of a generational gap, which is quite confronting. I've been in the tech industry since the 90s, again, hence the Knight Rider reference. But I've been told the more I say it, the easier it is to accept eventually, right? I started off my journey at IBM in Johannesburg, South Africa, if you hadn't have heard that already. And I've made my way through, I suppose, doing a whole bunch of stuff, like consultancy, network analysis, running around with DOS-based sniffers, again, in massive boxes to speak. I worked for a company back in Joburg that it was my first networking company. And this company, we used to use packet analyzers to go and sort out problems. And this company had a no-fix, no-fee policy. And I was the only woman in the team, right? I was not going back to the office until I'd found the problem. So my learning curve was pretty steep. And I'm quite thankful for that. So let's have a chat. Sync. I'm going to bring you some bad news, right? And it is bad news. Threat intelligence, what is it? It's used obviously for organizations to gather, analyze, and act upon information. And I think it's becoming more and more and more important as things are getting worse and worse and worse, right? This is our new reality, and it's not improving at all, right? It's not just Australia, it's across the globe, right? Organizations are getting cyber attacks left, right, and center. Let's look at some trends real quick. 773% increase in the largest DDoS attack. 33% more APIs are found with machine learning and discovery than what organizations are actually reporting or know about. 74% of organizations are moving and adopting to zero trust. And if you can believe this, the zero trust architecture was actually coined in the 80s, right? And only now we are sort of starting to embrace it, right? So this is part of what I'll talk about in a little bit. Phishing is still the #1 attack vector, okay? And I think we can all probably realize why. We're at the other end of that, right? So for threat intelligence to be useful, it needs to be accurate, it needs to be actionable, and more importantly, it needs to be automated, right? Think about acting on intelligence that's incorrect. Like we all know potentially what could happen. Our governments do it all the time, right? But we don't want to be doing it. We need to be sure that we are trusting the sources of threat intelligence. Now, this is where I'm going to give you a little tip, like pay attention here, because there's some good stuff coming. Cloudflare is the only composable internet-native platform, right? We have got presence in 310 cities, right? 120 countries. And again, I've been in the networking industry since the 90s, and I had no idea about the scale and size of Cloudflare's network until I started working there. It's truly incredible. More importantly, we are within 50 milliseconds of the world's, 95% of the world's internet population. That's pretty good, right? This is why we see threats at massive scale. We see more than 20% of that world's internet traffic. That's massive. That is huge. That is why when you're looking at trusted sources, that's pretty good. It's almost like someone mentioned it to me, like an internet-wired immune system, if you think of it like that. This year alone, Cloudflare blocked an average of 600 million attacks in Australia. In Q2, traffic targeting in Australia has increased by over 156%, right? Again, it's not getting any better. They are also becoming more complex. So we are noticing that they are becoming larger in size as well. If you look at that first point, in the first quarter of 2025, we blocked 20.5 million DDoS attacks. For comparison, for the 2024 calendar year, we blocked 21.3 million. I mean, that's pretty staggering, right? We are also noticing hypervolumetric DDoS attacks, which means those attacks exceed 1 to 2 terabits per second. I mean, that's massive, right? So who's attacking you? When surveying our customers who were targeted by DDoS attacks, the majority said that they didn't know who attacked them. The ones that did suggested that it was their competitors, which we see is very common in the gaming and gambling industry, right? Now, this is a big one. Unmanaged APIs leave organizations significantly exposed. Again, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of organizations don't know what APIs they in fact have exposed. I think Optus rings a bell in that regard. So not only do we need to know what is there, we have to secure them as well. Visibility, visibility, visibility. Phishing. Let's talk about phishing, right? It's still the #1 attack vector. 9 out of 10 successful cyber attacks start with phishing. And someone asked me a question saying, with email security and all the stuff that we've got, why does it still happen? And I think a large portion of it is because we are humans and we naturally want to respond to something that we think we need to, right? Secondly, I think a lot of the intel coming across from these email security reporting tools, we're not really acting upon it. We have to have a dedicated team to act upon this intel. So what do we do, right? What next is to do is to connect, protect, and build. It's about mindset, right? I want you to consider for a moment a different mindset. I look at cyber professionals in the same way I look at technical pre-sales folks. They have to be significantly smart in the technology area, but also they've got to be people persons, right? They've got to be social. We've got to be able to talk to each other. They need to be inquisitive and curious and ask questions. And I think cyber professionals need to have a little bit of those skills as well, right? Most of the folks with technical backgrounds, they usually operate in one or the other, black or white. And as I said, I think we just need to encompass a little bit more into our lives as technical folk. Collaboration, communication, breaking down silos. And you can see here why that's important, right? If you look at some of those images, it's pretty funny. But people can actually do this kind of stuff and make mistakes, right? I just had to have the office reference in there, right? 100% pass because he doesn't read emails. I love it. 7 layers of security. Look who's at the top. It's the human layer. Oftentimes people forget this. They don't think about it and they move past it, right? I'll encourage you to consider a human-centric approach to security. There's a lot on that slide, but what I want you to recall or remember from it is it recognizes that humans play a significant role, right, in the security posture. We can also develop strategies that align with our human needs, motivations, and capabilities. Even Gartner's identifying this human-centric cybersecurity culture as quite a big-ticket item. What are the benefits of adopting that approach? Well, it's improved security outcomes, right, reduced incidents, increased compliance, enhanced trust, and an overall improved employee experience. I want to focus on this for just a moment about the benefits of community and encouraging you to reach out and connect with one another. So this is one of the Microsoft's chief security advisors, and I started following her work on LinkedIn because her approach is very much around a human-centric approach, right? She's very focused on that. And she's also very focused on the resilience side, right? The incident response management. So I decided to connect with her and see if she would reply. And of course she did. And I was starting to just ask her questions, pick her brains, right? And I even got really, I was on my way to a customer meeting and I wanted to share something in a book that she's written. Hadn't quite finished the book, but I knew it was there. So I got a little bit cocky and said, hey, just can you summarize this book? I'm on the way to a meeting here. And she did. So the important thing here is be brave, reach out, share intelligence. So these are the two, she's written the 2 best books I've read in cyber. So who remembers how many cities Cloudflare has presence in today? Did someone say something?
138.
Cities, that's countries, you were almost there. That'll do for me, mate. So here you go. And you know what? I'm going to give that to you as well, mate. You were nearly there. So this is the other one. You were going to answer, weren't you? Right? All right. Now, again, as I said to you, I'm from Johannesburg, and what I want to share with you is that I have seen this movie before. When I was raised in the country, the crime rate was soaring, and I watched security soar, and nothing changed, right? So let's go through it. I saw more security as the crime rate increased. I saw even more security, things got higher and bigger, right? Crime rate didn't change. I saw even more security, advanced security, right? Even inside the houses, right? Think, what does that remind you of? Micro-segmentation. Let's limit what the person can do, right? Crime rate didn't change. And there's a couple of things I want to share here, is that us as youngsters, we could walk out the door and not enable the alarm or even shut the door, because we weren't on the journey. No one was telling us what was going on, right? The second thing is we came full circle into a community, into a collaborative approach, right? That is the approach that has worked so far. It hasn't changed the crime rate, but it's allowed us to feel more secure. We're talking to each other, we're sharing intelligence, we're just being a little bit more of a community with each other for the first time, right? So as I said, I think that's where we are headed now as cyber professionals. So here at Cloudflare, we want to share intelligence with you. Who's heard of Cloudflare Radar? Right, you get a shirt, so you're going to have to come and get a shirt. So Cloudflare Radar is a hub that showcases the global internet traffic. And you guys can access it right now, radar.cloudflare.com. You've got access to this intelligence. And it is really, really cool. You can get lost in this web interface for ages, right? And you can start to look at things like traffic profiles, right? You can start to look at outages, right? You can start to look at adoption. Now, you'd think, why is that important? I suppose think of if you're developing an app, right? You might want to know, is it mostly iOS users in the region you want to deploy? Is it mostly Android users? So you can have a look at this. You can have a look at it worldwide, per country. It's really neat information. So this is our approach to intelligence sharing, right? So as mentioned, outages, connection quality as well is important, connection tampering, graph sharing. You can run reports and share it with other folks in your utilization. And again, I looked at the adoption and the visibility profiling, right? It's really neat information. Protect. Let's look at some modern security approaches. How do we identify the crown jewels of what we are trying to protect, right? Proactive security measures. What I want to encourage you to look at here is to know your business. So how many of you folks actually know what your end users need to do every day? Have you sat with them? Have you asked them the question, right? And that is hugely important. And I'll share an example. My sister works, I won't mention the name of the company. She works for a medical pharmaceutical company. And she has to go on site and present and train nurses. She can't plug her laptop in. Her USB ports are disabled. She can't share the PowerPoint that she wants to go and present. So of course, she's starting to look at alternatives, like how do I get this up to the cloud? How do I do this? And again, nobody's asked the question of what she actually needs to do, right? And I think a lot of us probably don't ask the question as well. I used to do a lot of performance management, network analysis in my career, and I used to go on site to troubleshoot an application, and I'd sit next to the user and say, what do you do? And they would be like, nobody's ever asked me that question, right? And again, I think as security folks, we've got to find that middle ground, right? And I encourage you to make it easy for your users. That is a huge part of a human culture that we're trying to build. Simplicity, that is hugely important. Complexity in the environment brings about a whole bunch of stuff that you really just don't need, right? Consolidation of vendor. I know that's a thing like people think about and they want to do, they don't really know how to start. I think it's an important process, and a lot of folks that I meet are actually on that journey. How many of you folks are on a consolidation journey? How far are you into the journey?
Quite a way.
And are you seeing benefits, or is it a slow burn for you?
There's benefits.
How are you going with the silos and stuff? I'm always quite...
We don't have them anymore.
Okay. How long did that take you to get there? Okay.
The other side. Well,
How long did it take you to get to that point?
a couple of years.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and there's a lot of people that have started it and they are seeing the benefits, right? And also what that does is it shuts down and limits the attack surface as well. So build. innovation by design, stronger security posture, right? Business continuity, DR and resilience. It's almost like it's not a if, it's a when. So we have to be respondent, we have to have a resilient cyber resiliency plan, not just a cyber strategy. Those are two different things and we need both of them now. AI-driven threats, they definitely need AI-powered defenses. Zero trust, again, that's the standard. So how many of you folks are implementing zero trust or looking at zero trust? More t-shirts to give away. And again, that's a journey as well, right? There's many different components to the zero trust architecture, right? But again, it's, as I said, it's taken since the 80s to get us here, hence the mindset discussion. Post-quantum readiness, are you guys looking at that, discussing it? What is your plan, right? All of this does require the C-suite, does require board level. I'm actually sitting through some cyber leaders training at the moment, and all of it thus far has been about how do we communicate to the board, right? If they are not on the journey with us, if they don't understand why, you may as well not even sort of bother moving forward. So resilience is not optional. It is 100% vital. So what I will share with you is 5 critical fault lines. Again, AI-powered threats and insider risks. Is that something you're aware of, you're discussing, you're implementing? Resilience, again, is no longer optional. Geopolitical risk. Again, we might think we're isolated, we're not involved with some of the stuff going on in the world, but there is a knock-on effect for us, for our suppliers. We need to be aware of that. Again, we can have a look at some of the Cloudflare radar data whenever there's been a significant geopolitical event in the world. Zero trust and data privacy and post-quantum. So C-suite moves, right, that build resilience at scale. This information is in our signals report, which at the end you can have a look at it and download it. It is a long report kicked off by Michelle Zatlin, one of our founders, and it's got some really good information. And if you follow some of these constructs, again, resilience, resilience, resilience. Humans, community, it's all about the new way of working. So that being said, you can have a look at the Cloudflare security brief. You can have a look at state of application security. And we also ran a readiness survey last year. Ben Monroe, who's our marketing lead, he's responsible for some of this information, and we run it across Asia Pacific and also per country as well. And in there is some really good intelligence around what we are actually seeing in the industry. Here is the signals report that some of this information is obtained from. Again, have a look at it, download it, and is there any questions?
First of all, why don't we thank Amanda for a great talk. And we've got a gift to you from AUSCERT.
No way.
That's number 2, a gift, because you're giving gifts out. You're a very kind person, like shirts and...
We've got lots to give away.
And if you go down to, if you like travelling and you like these things called luggage tags, which are pretty useful when you get your bag, you know, who is this? You can go down to the booth and get some, I think they're free. Is that right? Personalised as well. There you go.
Who responded and who needs a shirt? I think it
was
gotta be.
Would you like to show young lady? You can't.
no, I got to carry this shit.
Is it right back?
So what I will say is I spent last night culling a 40-minute presentation to a 20-minute. Turns out it's 40 minutes. So here we are. I didn't think anyone would mind having a little bit of time back.
Totally, yeah. So any questions? Well, you obviously catch Amanda, but questions now? Yep, here.
Just about, in that slide you put up where people think their threats are coming from, and they mention competitors, which is something no one ever says. Oh, no, it wouldn't be that. How did you get that information? Is that coming from the...
That is mostly from the gaming industry that we are finding, because again, that is fairly common, and these people, they don't really care, right? And there's nothing to hide there. It's a little bit like that, right? And I think a lot of the time is the competitors attacking you. You don't actually really know that they're your competitor as well, right? So have a look at Cloudflare radar data and you can check some of that stuff out. It's really interesting.
So you definitely should link into Amanda. Any time you actually are experiencing a DDoS, which is like you can't do anything, it's too late in a way, but Cloudflare can actually help you out.
Yes. So we have an under attacks team, right? So if you're under attack, you can actually contact us and we'll onboard you onto our systems first before any kind of contract discussion or anything like that. You can find that on our website. We have a team dedicated for that purpose, right?
And there've been some big attacks around the world from unnamed and whatnot. So, yep.
And part of the reason why we do that, right? Our founders, when they started Cloudflare, they realized they needed traffic for our systems to detect most of the threats out there. So they gave away a free plan because we wanted traffic on our environment. And that free plan exists still today. And that traffic is really important to us because of it gives us the ability to see things first, right? It gives us the ability for brand awareness, and it also gives us the ability to protect most vulnerable organizations out there that potentially can't afford cybersecurity.
So any other questions?
This is a really simple question. Is this pack available? Because there was actually a lot to unpack in that pack, if that makes sense.
We can absolutely make that available, yes, definitely.
So LinkedIn maybe? Or, yeah. Okay, everyone. Well, thank Amanda again for a great talk.